Okay, here's the quintessential question. I've had a lot of people asking me about this. On the left, we have the D7100 DX camera, 24 megapixels. On the right, we have the D810, Nikon's flagship camera, 36.3 megapixel camera. New all day long, $1,000 for the body. New all day long, current price $3,000. So $1,000 versus $3,000. Money being no object, is there really that big of a difference between the two? And the answer is no. No. D7100 it's really kind of a toss-up. My D810 is my favorite camera, but that's mostly due to the fact that it has nothing to do with it being an FX camera or a higher megapixel camera, or the fact that it's an FX camera. I mean, that's going to impress me. Really, the 7100 is a winner all the way around. I would not buy, if you have no money at all, I recommend purchasing the D5300. I wouldn't buy anything cheaper than that. The D750 is a turd. I'm not interested. This camera is about to be superseded by the D7200, which has more plastic in the body and has a flip out screen. No pro photographer wants a flippy screen. You don't need it. It's more fragile. Fuck you. You also don't need Wi-Fi. I'm not hearing any professional photographers. Now, the keyword being professional photographer. You know, in the past 2 decades, oh my God, there's no Wi-Fi. So what? You don't need it. Stop being a gadget whore. Take out the fucking SD card and stick it in your ass. I mean, your computer. You don't need Wi-Fi, okay? You don't. That little pathetic gimmick and trick is not needed. Is it slightly useful? No, it's not even slightly really useful. It's handy, it's neat, it's cool. You know, it's great for getting things quickly to people so they can look at it on their eye. You don't need it, okay? You don't really need it. How many fucking gizmos and gadgets do you need on your camera? You want a quality camera, for God's sakes. You also don't want a flip-out screen. They're more fragile and you don't need it. Now, so far as the D7100 versus the D810, yeah, I bumped the tripod, so what? The D7100 over here versus the D810. The D810 is my favorite camera, but not by much. For $2,000 difference, I do not recommend buying the D810, even though it's my favorite camera. It is a little more simplex, a little bit more user intuitive than the D7100, but the D7100 is every bit a professional camera. Is it a DX? Everybody thinks, oh, I can't wait to... I keep hearing this all the time. It is so stupid. Oh, I'm saving up money so I can upgrade to an FX camera and get rid of this DX. So what? The tight pixel density on the D7100 sensor, both these sensors are made by Sony, by the way. This is an equivalent 54 megapixel camera if the sensor were upscaled to an FX size. This is what birders use, using 300, 500, 800 millimeter lenses. This is what birders use that have more money is no object. They're not using FXs. Everything's going to be cropped down anyway. Most of your shots on your FX, unless you're really good at composition, depends on what you're shooting, obviously. A lot of your shots have to be cropped anyway. If you're a pixel peeper, this is a better camera with tighter pixel density. If you're going to be shooting 300 millimeters and cropping in on stuff, you're a sports photographer, this is a better camera to have. I'd rather have the D7100. I could have 3 of these versus one of these on the D810. I mean, everybody needs a secondary backup body. Technically, they need like 3 backup bodies, but I mean, it depends how much of a pro you are. You got a business, you know, you're making a business out of it. If you're doing wedding photography and whatnot, landscape stuff, obviously having a 36.3 megapixel D810 is almost a necessity. You have to ask yourself, though, are you in the professional wedding photography business? Are you taking professional landscape shots? Are you going to be blowing them up to 20 by 30 size? The D7100 for $1,000 is the best camera from Nikon to own. Hands down, bar none. Fuck my opinions, it's just fact. I've owned most all of them in the past 20 years except for the shit variety. The crap cameras, you know, the low-end amateur trash where everything is automatic. But the D7100 is no less of a professional camera in build or quality than is the D810. They're both made by slave labor sweatshops in Thailand. They both have magnesium alloy chassis. They both have Sony sensors in them, the digital sensors inside of them. They both have as many gadget features. Actually, the D810 has a few more, but they're rather useless. They're not really anything that you can't live without. So the D7100 is really no less of a camera than is the D810. I said $1,000 versus $3,000. Any FX lens will work on a DX, vice versa in crop mode. Stick a DX lens in your FX, stick it in DX crop mode. So I've had people ask that question. I thought I'd give a recommendation. Money being irrelevant, obviously the D7100 is a little bit smaller of a camera. I love huge cameras. Pros love big cameras. Several reasons for that. That's what we grew up with. But also a larger camera has less shake. Just due to the fact that it's a larger mass and it's harder to move. They're more easy to get non-shaky photos with. They're easier to hold and mess with. At least that's what pros are used to. We love big, heavy, fat cameras, and it's not because that's just what we grew up on, but there's several reasons for that. One being weight is a big plus, especially when using non-vibration reduction lenses, but there's just so many assholes out there. It's like, well, I have a DX camera, and I'm just saving up all my pennies so I can buy this super expensive FX camera that I don't fucking need. You don't need it. Are you a professional photographer? You need an FX camera. Are you a professional landscape photographer? You need a FX camera. Are you getting anything extra? Are you going to notice anything? Even if you're a pixel peeper, if I blow them up to 11 by 17, are you going to notice the difference between the 7100 and the D810? No, you're not. I can fool every pro out there right now on a great shot, depending on what your ISO settings are, what lens you're using. I can fool them every time between what's the 24 megapixel DX shot and a 36 megapixel FX shot. It's all about glass, it's all about composition, all about light manipulation. Most shots you're going to crop anyway. You do not really need an FX camera. 99% of the people out there that are just have an itch in their crotch to get rid of their FX camera and upgrade to an expensive DX camera. I mean, get rid of their DX and upgrade to an FX camera. You know, they're idiots. They don't need to do it. They don't need it. You know, like I said, if you are a pro shooter for landscape, weddings, you don't even want it for news. For news and for bird shots, you'd rather have the DX camera. Higher pixel density on the DX sensor. D7100 really is, money being irrelevant, the D7100 is the best camera that Nikon produces, and that's also including, in that conclusion, the $6,000 Nikon F4S. You need the F4S for one thing. It's got better focus in extreme low light, and it has really high buffer for doing a news and action shots where you can do a lot of consecutive shots, so you're not filling up the buffer on either the D810 or the D7100. If you're doing action shots or a lot of consecutive continuous high shooting, the buffer will fill up really quick and your camera will slow down drastically because the buffer's full. I mean, that's what you're paying $6,000 for on the Nikon D4S versus the D810, although the D810 is their flagship in features. I mean, the D810 for $3,000 less than the D4S is far superior, has a better sensor, better autofocus, higher megapixels. It's overall a better camera than the F4S. Does it have anywhere near the buffer capacity or the low light autofocus capabilities? No. Do 99.9% of the people need that shit? No, they don't. The people that do need that, they can write off an a D4S, you know, easy. They write it off on their taxes because that's what they're using in their business. So, best recommendation on the best Nikon out there, money really being irrelevant. I've told you the reasons, and it is the D7100. Now, the D7100 is about to be announced next week as superseded by the D7200. But I'm not interested in the D72. That's good news for you because when the 7200 comes out, the 7100 is going to drop in price. D7200 is going to be a bit of a piece of shit. It's going to be more expensive, and it's going to have two fuck features that you don't need. A flip-out screen, which is really fragile and no pro wants it, and it's going to have Wi-Fi. So it's going to have a fragile, shitty flip-out screen, and it's going to have shitty Wi-Fi, which nobody needs to begin with anyway. But people want that shit. But the people that want that shit are gadget whores. Nikon caters to gadget whores. They always have to innovate and come out with something new. They have to actually take away part of the magnesium housing of the D7100 because you have problems with Wi-Fi transmission on the magnesium chassis, getting bidirectional signal communication on the magnesium alloy chassis. So they have to remove part of that and replace it with plastic. So the D7200 is going to be more like a Canon camera, which is feels like a plastic tinker toy to me. I absolutely can't stand the way Canons feel. They feel like holding a plastic piece of shit made by Legos. So that's good news for the pricing anyway on the 7100. So anyway, that's the long-winded cross-comparison, pros and cons between the D7100DX and the FX D810. Nikon's professional flagship DSLR, and also talking about the D4S. Send me any questions about anything. I've owned it or used it or own it now, or I'll give you the answer on anything. So trying to save you money here, okay? So you don't piss your money away on stuff like, oh God, I wished I didn't buy that. It's trying to save you money. Knowledge is power, okay? Use it, seek it, so you don't piss your money away unnecessarily.